today on the bench we've got this little weirdo. But this is a Ibanez mandolin pickup. This was sent to me by Mr. Steve Benford, who builds incredible guitars and runs a repair shop. And he wanted me to go through this and see if I could get it up and alive again. Check out this photo of the mandolin that it came out of. This is from back in Ibanez's lawsuit era. Before they found their own identity, they kind of made their living knocking off copies of really cool instruments. And eventually that caught up with them and they turned it around and invented their own really cool instruments. But this thing here is from that era. First glance, yes, it is not producing any signal. We have an open coil. Quick look at the back shows pretty typical 70s, 60s, 70s Ibanez type construction. Japanese pickups. My Gauss meter. Next question is, what kind of magnet setup have we got in here? Is it a Alnico? Is it ceramic? Let's find out. To do that, we're going to flip the little weirdo over and pry back these two clips, and that should let us access. All right, this little screwdriver, just pry this back a little bit. Looks like it's been tweaked on a little bit already, but don't want to go crazy because this is a completely irreplaceable part. Bend it back the rest of the way. Why duck bills? Because it doesn't really, it helps you flatten out the metal. Doesn't really distort it quite as bad as regular needle nose, although I do use regular needle nose sometimes. All right, once we've got the two little tabs bent back, we should be able to just slide that off. And, oh, okay. So the coil is not connected to the base plate, I suppose. Look at that. So that is a ceramic bar magnet. That is our coil, and this is very typical of Japanese pickup design. The steel frame that holds your screws and the magnet down below that. I've seen this a million times. This is very neat to see, though. So, does look like it was squeezed in there rather violently. I hope that's not a paper bobbin because I hate working on those. Now we gotta get this out of this cover. I like this cover. This is cool. This is what I'm using on my new line of pickups. All right, get down here and push that out forcefully, but not violently. We use force, but not violence. And we push that out. It's loose. Why is it not coming out? Why is it not coming out? Oh, I see. So there's the coil. Okay, the coil fits tightly, but the metal frame does not. So, very interesting. All right, there we go. That is the pickup out of its little weird cover. I will clean that up before we're done. And what do we got? We got paper bottom bobbin, paper top bobbin, and a piece of white plastic stuffed in there for aesthetics. Let's see if we can take that off. So there's your pole structure. Very simple, very straightforward. Time to desolder the connections. The head bone. All right. Let's see what we got inside this weirdness. So there's one of our connections. Can you see it? Can you see it? Will we get lucky? Will we be able to fix this? Doubtful, but we are going to try. Always try to fix these without rewinding them, for authenticity's sake and to just save me a little headache. The more of it I can retain as original, the better. I apologize for my weird speech pattern. I've had some dental work done and my head feels like 2 balloons. See this? See how that was crushed in there? That's from the factory, okay? When they put this coil into that cover you saw earlier, they just crammed it in there. And it's been in there for 1,000,000 years, and now it's failed. And I suspect this is where our problem is, but who knows? If I have to make a new bobbin for this, I'm going to make something better than this thing, because this is junk. This is broken. And is that it right there? Well, where'd it go? Old eyeballs ain't what they used to be. Nope, that's just a piece of junk. That lead, there is the white wire. And the other end is, well, that's broke too. So, okay, so both ends of this are broke. Junk. Instead of trying to disassemble this mess and rewind this incredibly flimsy paper bobbin, which was common for the era, I'm making some 3D printed ones on my 3D printer. Here we are, printing it. Boy, technology is something, ain't it? Let's see if my 3D printed bobbin concept works. That slides on there. That slides on there. That goes on there. And that is going to leave us with a plastic bobbin. A little more hardy than what came off of it. That's what we're going to go with. And we're going to set it just like that and dab just the tiniest little bit of glue on that corner just to hold things together while I assemble stuff, because I don't want to glue assemble this on my vintage parts. I don't know what you call these. They're kind of like toothpicks. They're what I use instead of toothpicks these days. And they're for hors d'oeuvres, you know. All right, there's our first side glued up. And let's put the second side on. Side 1 done, so now we'll flip it over and do side 2. Turn the record over. Turn it over. Anybody remember that, or am I just old? Shut up. Nobody asked you. See? Same concept as the first round. So we'll clamp that. I'll just take it off of this thing because I don't need it now. The glue that I use is a thicker kind of Loctite. CA glue is all it is. It's super glue. That ought to be set up. Let's see if we can, yeah, look at that. There we go. New bobbin for this little Ibanez weirdo. Now let's add a little more glue to the fillets. See, I like to go a little bananas on this part of it to keep the wire from working its way into the seam. Alright, everything is programmed into the winder. Time to fire it up. There we go. There's our new plastic bobbin versus our old paper bobbin. And I think it's going to be just more better. I do. Before I trek on much further with this process, I'm going to try and clean this stuff up. And I'm going to start with the simple stuff. This is a paper towel and water. That's all it is. And start with, you know, the easiest solvent you can on this kind of stuff. If this doesn't get it, I'll step up to a different kind of cleaning agent. Typically, for metal covers like this, I'll use WD-40, something like that, because it's usually just got sticky gunk on it, and it just needs to be cleaned off. So often, just something that's kind of a lubricant and a little friction and persistence will usually get it, but that's not getting it this time, so let's put just a dab of WD-40 on it. Not much at all, as you can see, just the tiniest little spot. Yeah, that's much better. See how that looks compared to that side, which is still a little smudgy. So we'll keep going with that all the way around the cover until we've got all this gunk removed. We're going to reuse the original jump wires, the red and white. So I went with 7,000 turns of this wire, this is an unusual wire because this is such a small pickup. I decided to go with 46 gauge, which you won't see a lot of people winding with that, but every once in a while I get one of these tiny little weirdos that I think would probably do well with a little bit more winding. And 7,000 turns is going to give us something like a P90 kind of output. So, curious to see what we actually ended up with. All right, you like that? I like that. That is 10K, pretty much dead on. So I'm gonna call that a win. Let's tape her up and get her ready to go. Now our little piece that goes on the top. And the cover. That looking familiar? Look like it's supposed to. Bend these tabs back over a little bit. What do you think? It's looking decent, right? All right, let's hook up our hookups before our hookups are no longer hooked up, and we can no longer hook them up. And then we're going to make that connection. I use my 80-watt Weller. These are very inexpensive Weller soldering irons. I use this for grounding the base plates because they're so big that they act as a big heat sink, and your small soldering irons have a hard time heating those up quickly. This thing does not. It's got a big surface area. It's good for doing metal work. And this is my what I hold my soldering iron in, because I don't have one big enough for that. This is Minnie Mouse, and she's gonna hold my soldering iron for me. Used to be my wife's coffee mug, now it's mine. Yeah, I like that better. There are times where I don't even shrink these. I just put it on there and leave it just so it's insulated, but This big honking soldering iron is going to make quick work of that. A lot of people use heat guns and such for shrink wrap. I've always used my soldering iron. I started doing that back before I had any money for tools, and this was the handiest tool, and it's easy to control the heat, so that's what I use. This pickup should be about finished. I will probably take a piece of that tape and put it on here just again to act as a little bit of a strain relief. So let's just put that on there just to toughen things up a little bit. Now let's get a meter and check this reading one more time just to make me happy. Oh, 10.6. So that's leading a little bit of extra resistance on this this wire here, and maybe from the heat that we put into it, it's going to be cooling down. Yes, the room temperature of the room that you're reading a pickup in will affect its resistance. Ambient temperature makes a difference on these readings. So if somebody tells you they're going to wind it exactly to 10K and you get a hold of it and it's 11K, well, okay, don't freak out, because it's probably not the end of the world. And it's probably not a big enough difference for it to matter. But as you can see, as this base plate cools down, that resistance goes down, because it's what do you call it? It's heat sinking. It's sinking the heat out into the room, and it'll continue to go down until it gets back to about 10K, which is where we started. So I hope that was interesting, kids. I'm in the middle of reworking the shop and relaunching the channel, if you may have figured out. And we're going to get back into doing some deep pickup work and maybe some other repairs on amps and pedals and other things as I accumulate those. If you don't know who Steve Benford is, you need to look him up. He's got a killer website where he will make you just about any kind of guitar or bass you can think of. He's also got his own line of instruments. You can check those out. He does repair work. Just a great guy. Been at it for a long time, knows a lot of stuff. And when he can't get a pickup working, he sends it to me, because I know a lot of stuff about this. See you next time, guys.